with R's Garage. In this video, I'll be working on the GL Racing GTR Step 2 or page 6 in the manual. So let's get started. So for Step 2, we're going to need our chassis. We're also going to need parts from bag A3, parts from bag A5. We're also going to need the balls from the D bag, which there's a bunch of parts in here, but we only need the balls, so we only need 2 of those. Let me go ahead and get those out. We're also going to need M2 by 4 km screws, M2 by 3 km screws, M2 by 4 kb screws, and M2 by 6 kb screws. And we're also going to need the 2 parts from the C bag. Additionally, we're not going to use the chassis that came in the kit. Believe that the brass chassis is a must-have upgrade. So I have the GL-GTR hybrid chassis set, which is part number GL-GTR OP027. So let's go ahead and get the chassis out. It's packaged nicely and it comes in this nice plastic case. And you have some screws, you have some side weights that come both in brass and looks like carbon as well. You get a little mini screwdriver and the chassis itself. So we have our chassis, it's brass, beautifully machined. It even says GL-GTR wide, so pretty excited to use this. All right, so what we can do first is get these parts off the parts tree. And I'm just gonna pop them off by hand, so I don't think my flush cutters are fine enough to get down in there without damaging the parts. And I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and clean up these parts, make sure there's nothing left from the sprue. For these parts, we're going to do the same thing we did for the control arms. We're going to take the X-Acto, put it in the hole, and then rotate to make sure we can clear out any flashing that's inside. And this will help ensure that the ball that gets installed in these holes moves nice and free. All right, so let's go ahead and install A3-1, A3-2, and A3-3. So let's do A3-1, which is this part right here. In order to install this, we need the M2 by 6 kb screws. There's 2 of those, so let's go ahead and grab those. So the A3-1 has a spot for where a ball stud is going to install. That hole is going to be facing this way. It looks like the part fits. There's a cutout in the chassis itself, and that part fits nicely into there. So now we can go ahead and install the 2 screws here and here. going into plastic, so you don't want to crank down on it too hard, and the screws are nice and flush. Alright, so that's A3-1 installed. Let's go ahead and install A3-2. So A3-2 is this piece here. It's flat on one side, and the other side is not completely flat. So this side faces the rear of the car. And in order to install this, it's going to install in these two holes here and here. And we're going to need two M2 by 4 KB screws. So my M2-4 KB screws. Okay. Now we can install A3-3. It's just on the opposite side of the car with the same M2 by 4 KB screws. So those are on. Now we can move on to installing our balls D21. In order to install those, we need two M2 by 3 km screws. So let's grab those. And these are going to install in these outermost positions here and here. So it looks like you need two 1.5 drivers in order to tighten that up. They're small screws, so you don't want to over tighten it and strip something, but everything's nice and tight and flush. Now we can install our side links, and again we're going to install them using some soft jaw needle nose pliers. You want to make sure everything moves nice and smooth, just like so. So this side is not moving freely, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this off. And so that moves nice and free, rotates under its own weight, and can move up and down nice and free. So we're going to call that good. Next we can install our steering posts. We're going to need two M2 by 4 km screws. And these screws are going to install in these two holes here and here, or from the bottom right here. And I didn't have to hold back up or anything. It tightened up right on its own. All right, so there we go. So that's it for step 2, or page 6 in the manual. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Let me know down in the comments if you have any issues or tips. I'd love to hear them. Stay tuned for the next video, which is going to be step 3, or page 7 in the manual. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.